These days, some of us commemorate, while some of us celebrate a century since communist revolution swept through Russia. In subsequent decades, the idea of Lenin and the political and economic system of Stalin were imposed or adopted by governments and revolutionary movements in all continents, from Havana to Phenian, and from Ulaanbaatar to Addis Ababa. Despite the collapse of most of these governments and political parties a quarter of a century ago, the Russian Communist Revolution remains a paramount historical event, definitely one of the most important of the very eventful 20th century. Why is the 1970 revolution important now? 100 years later, the world, in particular the Western countries, is still reeling for a decade-long economic crisis. This crisis has destroyed millions of careers, put in jeopardy or even in poverty many people who used to live lives that were, if not comfortable, then at least secure. Those who created the crisis, bankers, investors, governments, walked away with their money, and no one was convicted of the harm done. The working classes saw their jobs disappear, and many retreated in desperation, seeking solace in drugs or life on welfare. Meanwhile, the already rich became richer, and executive pay and bonuses reached stratospheric levels. Thus, there is really no surprise some people starting having second thoughts about the capitalist system, and in trying to change something about it, they started looking in the past. What should one learn from the 1970 revolution? The October 1970 revolution, itself coming during the mass slaughter of the First World War, unleashed in its turn a series of extremely violent events resulting in the death of millions of people. Of course, not only the Russian revolutionaries were responsible for these acts of violence, their opponents being sometimes even more ruthless than the Bolsheviks. But this is a moot point. The most important lesson is that change, even a positive one, may start through mass violence. The second most important lesson is one of unintended consequences. The Russian revolutionists started with a genuine desire to create a better world. They wanted to eradicate exploitation, to create a form of radical democracy, to enfranchise, educate, and enrich the masses. They wanted to dispel superstition, fight bigotry, fight the adulation of a powerful leader, and realize equality between men and women. They ended up creating a system in which the state replaced the bourgeoisie, the party replaced the aristocracy, the KGB replaced the secret police of Russian Empire, the cult of Stalin replaced the cult of the Tsar, and the faith in dialectical materialism replaced the faith in the Orthodox Church. Millions were killed. Virtually, everybody was oppressed. Free thinking was banned. poverty was still in existence, and the relations between genders were still not particularly equal. Should one forego the dream of radical social change? No. Radical social change is happening anywhere, being driven by economic crisis, mass migration, and the crisis of liberalism. The problem is the management of social change, and this is where one should think thoroughly about the direction in which one should steer social change, and very important, about the means of steering such social change. The Russian Revolution of 1917 might not be the right guide in this case.